Happy Thursday, everybody. Today is Thursday, right? Yes, good. That make sense. February 1st. I'm really on this. Happy Thursday, everybody. I hope you're having an amazing start to your week. I hope that things are going fairly as planned so far. Our week is going fairly as planned so far, of course, but we've had the normal challenges that come up every single week and every single day. And hopefully the more you hear this straight from another fellow business owner, that you realize that, the journey along the way isn't about, oh my gosh, only 80% of what we do is right and the other 20% messes up. It's that would be pretty incredible in its own. It's you are a professional problem solver, and you are where you are today because you continue to push forward and push through and solve more problems as time goes forward. So everybody, welcome. My name is Dallas Hardcastle, here with Make Today Mammoth. And the reason we are here is to be able to help fellow business owners be able to not just make more sales, but be able to do so in a way that you are standing out from everyone else. And this is the way to be able to create profit. Okay. I want you to understand and hear that. Making sales and making profits are two completely different things, as it turns out, right? Like, there are companies that you will hear all the time. I mean, just very recently, I can't think of it. It's like they're celebrity. It's a male and a female, and they had some child care or baby care products company. And I mean, they were doing something. It was over $200 million in revenue. It's like $240 million in revenue, and they're declaring bankruptcy because they owed a vendor. I forget what the number was. It was 110 or $130 million, something. Like, sales and profits are two different things. So we're here to help those increased sales come through the act of being what we call a separator, being able to be different, stand out, so that you can earn the right to be able to be a much more highly profitable company entity. One of the ways that we're going to do that is to show you today. Is we love, we have all kinds of different things we do, right? Like, we aren't front facing and talking about all the things we do because candidly, some of it's a little of our secret sauce, and some of it is there's just no reason to, bounce around 100 different things that we do inside of the company, but we do a lot of stuff, right? Like, if we're going to help someone increase sales, we're not a one-trick pony. We don't do the one thing. Hey, here's the one thing that we can do. And then if that doesn't work out, then we're kind of snookered. It's like, we evaluate the specific situation, and then we diagnose how we can best help it. And sometimes that may be through writing, sometimes it's through posting, sometimes it's through paid, sometimes it's through copy, sometimes it's through video, sometimes it's through storytelling, sometimes it's through affiliation, sometimes it's warm market, cold market. It really just depends on the person. Sometimes the actual sales process itself just stinks. Sometimes it's pricing. Sometimes it's deliverable. Sometimes it's the systems they have in place while they actually have a customer engaged. Referring processes. There's so many of these things, but ultimately that's what we do. That's how we help people increase sales. And that's how, more importantly, we help with those profits. So today I thought it would be fun to go through 6 steps on being able to master video storytelling. And this, as it turns out, is a pretty big deal, because what we want to be able to do is show people, and I want to make sure we're not like, I don't think we are. We don't like freeze when we leave the screen or anything. So that would be weird if that happened. So what we want to be able to do, friends, is like everyone's, almost everyone seems to be doing video, right? So there's a ton of video out there. So now it begins, how can we separate ourselves from doing video? How can we do video differently? If we're going to do something like one of the things that we love doing, of course, is like a video sales letter. Well, a video sales letter is so oftentimes just somebody, they may write it themselves. That's kind of step one. Step two, maybe they actually bring on someone to help with the copywriting of it. But ultimately, it usually winds up with them sitting in front of the camera, kind of like this, and then shooting a video. Well, the unfortunate news is there are scads of those. So maybe they step it up. They're like, oh, we're going to go ahead and bring on a second or maybe even a third camera so we can switch camera and, eye fatigue and all this great stuff. Well, again, that's all great. But ultimately, if you really want to do this, like you want there to be great story. You want there to be great engagement of story. And look no further than television, than all of these streaming services, than the great movies that are out there. They're not great because they have a bunch of camera angles bouncing around. That's a tiny part, right? Editing in this shoot, but it's all of the story. There's steps to this. So what I want to convey to you is the more that we can pay attention, and you're going to hear this theme over and over with us, is that when we're paying attention to really like the foundational pieces of doing this stuff right, then we suddenly give ourselves a real opportunity to really stand out, be a separator. Because when people see your stuff, it looks different, it sounds different, it feels different, it plays different. So my calling to you today is learn this stuff. And of course, we're here that, we have people that take our stuff and they run off and they do it, and that's great. And then we have people that reach out because they understand how powerful it is and they want the help, and that's cool too. If you ever want to reach out to us, we're easy to get a hold of. Best ways to get a hold of me are either through email, dallas@maketodaymammoth.com, dallas@maketodaymammoth.com, or you can just simply leave a question or comment below the video. And of course, I will make sure and get back in touch with you. And if you would rather not do it public facing, then either the email or you can just shoot me a DM. DM at in Facebook or LinkedIn are the easiest ways to get in touch with me. I check those throughout the day, and we will make sure we get in touch with you. So friends, without any further ado, these are 6 steps. And this is working with one of the video companies, video partners of ours that we're very close with, and they do it an amazing job. And, this is what you want. This is what you want. I promise you. Is if you have something to sell and you want to create some kind of a sales funnel and you want to use video, you want there to be strategy that goes beyond just good copywriting. I promise you. Like, you can have great copywriting for a movie, and if the shots don't match the story, if the flow and the energy of the story doesn't match what's going on in the camera and what's happening inside of the editing and with the post-production and the narratives and the story arc being then paired up with all of these things, if all of these things aren't being put together properly, you just get these really diminished returns. So I want you to think of this stuff as like, do what's required to make something amazing. Do what's required, right? So what is required doesn't mean, well, I just want to get something up and something out there. Like, boy, I am all for speed. I'm all for action. I'm all for implementation. Like, get it out there, get it out there, get it out there. My philosophy for almost my entire life is ready, fire, aim, right? It's like, don't wait to be perfect, because that really is just an excuse, right? There's never been perfection. There will never be perfection. So when people are like, oh, I'm a perfectionist, that's why I keep stalling and delaying and playing small and all this kind of stuff. Well, yeah, that's all it is, right? It's just fear, and they're just stalling because they're claiming to be a perfectionist. And that's not how this stuff works out. How I would do it though is put a little bit of time and energy and effort to really get this part down, like get the video good, make a good video. If it takes you a couple weeks, if it takes you 2 or 3 weeks to get this thing written well, to get the story put together, to get these 6 steps put together, to get it shot, to get it edited, like create something that automatically eliminates at least, I'm hoping, 90%, and really should eliminate 95, 97, 98% of all the other folks out there. Like, do that part. And all of a sudden now, rather than maybe dealing with With 20 other companies, maybe it's like one other company. If you're in an industry where maybe it's 100 other companies, maybe there's 2 or 3 other companies. Like, that's the power of this. So without any further ado, and I am golly, I just this thing seems to kind of quasi I freeze when I move the screen. I sure hope this thing has not just been frozen when I move screens over. That would be awful, wouldn't it? But it would also be really weird because the camera's still on. So anyway, without any further ado, here are the 6 steps. Is number 1, it is story mapping. Number 2, pre-visualization. Number 3, artistic capture. Number 4, narrative sculpting. Number 5, detail crafting. And then number 6, which we put as an optional, but they use as story extension. So, friends, here's the breakdown. Number 1 is story mapping. So this is this is brilliantly important, friends. This is how you're excavating. This is how you're digging in, and it involves plotting out the entire story, like the questions, all of the things that you're doing to identify the key elements, like the setting and the characters, the narrative arcs. There's not just one, there's many. So you have this actual mapped out, pre-planned story, the storyboard, a script that aligns with your brand message. This is a big part. This isn't someone saying, who are you? What are you selling? Who are you selling it to? What's the desired outcome they want to have? Okay. And then what's the approximate price point? Is this a higher or lower minimum? Okay. And this is the thing. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm a good copywriter and I'm going to go ahead and write it out. How long do you want it to be? Okay, about 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, I'll write that out. That'll be about 2.5 pages and I'll get this written to you and get it turned around in a week or two. No, 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 no. It is not that at all. I promise you. This is the actual, these are the masters at pulling out what the real story is, asking the right questions, making sure that we can get outside of, like, the hardest thing for any of us to do is to get outside of our own heads, right? Like that's why we hire coaches. That's why we have mentors. That's why we join masterminds. That's why we do these things, is because it is impossible to see the whole picture when you're inside the frame, right? Like, think if you're in a painting, if you're inside that picture, if you're inside of it, there's no way you can see the whole thing. You have to step outside to be able to see the whole thing. This is why we want people to help us with these things. So number 2, we call pre-visualization. This is going beyond just what is pre-production. This is pre-visualization, which involves creating these like different rough sketches, sometimes these digital mock-ups of really what these key scenes are going to look like. You know, again, the intention, the words, the element, the emotion, all of these things getting put together in a way so when you're saying a certain thing and it's being reinforced by the feelings you have, the emotions that are tied to it, along with that visual that's being anchored into it, that makes a difference, friends. That makes a big difference. It's not get a copywriter, read the script in front of a camera, and then boom, go sell it. You get where I'm going here, right? These visual narratives, you want to get all of these things done before you ever pull out the camera, right? Like these are visual guides that help create the total blueprint while you're actually moving into the production phase. And as you can see, I'm reading, I made some notes here. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Number 3 is artistic capture. And this is again, one of the coolest. I mean, this is focused on gathering your visual and audio assets. And again, people think, oh, that's when you do the camera. This is so far beyond just like hitting record. It's about capturing the footage that actually serves the story. Again, there are layers to this. You have narrative arcs. You have the story. You have the emotions tied to this. You have brand fixtures that are getting anchored into here, key statements, key phrases, and then a visual that is contextually laid over top of that to make sure that you're getting all of the emotions, all of the feels. So going to the great movie, watching the great thing on TV, you're seeing how all of these things are lined up. And most of us as lay people, we don't understand all of the things that are really happening until you start to go into this world and you spend a few years really hanging around these super talented folks who are Emmy award winning and worked on movies, worked on shows, worked on things with Netflix. Um, their degree and their level of storytelling and narrative and brand and key questions, key scenes, how to be able to put this into a visual context, it goes far beyond what I think most of us. It goes far beyond what I ever knew. I just thought, oh, okay, this is that. He's saying this thing, and there's the shot. Boy, there's a reason the shot is that way. There's a reason that it's done at that angle. There's a reason it's done with that lighting. There's a reason it's done at that frame. There are all kinds of reasons why it's being done that way. Step 4, narrative sculpting. This is a much deeper take than just saying, oh, it's post-production. Narrative sculpting is all about kind of the cutting out of the ordering and the finessing of all of this footage so that it fits the storyboard to the script. So this includes adding any kind of like special effects that can enhance the storytelling. So this gives you a very rough cut of what this is going to look like and what it is that we wanted to envision from the very beginning. Right? Because remember, at the very beginning, we had that story that was being crafted. And now we have that story that's been crafted, the storyboard, these images, these digital, these mock-ups. We go from that over to being able to now have we have these raw shots, and now we put all this together. So we want to make sure that this stuff all fits, it all works together. Then step 5 is detail crafting. So this is the phase where the really the small stuff, right? That like the minute details are really honed in. So things like color grading, sound design, even sub that are all these things are like tailored and crafted to complement the actual story. So it looks very polished, looks very good. Again, the big is critical. Like so many things in life, right? Like that foundation is what allows the step 2, the step 3, the step 4, the step 5 to flourish, to look great, to work so well. When we don't have those, when the foundation isn't there, then all of a sudden we have like just the first story is not quite as stable and as strong as it could be. The second story, if we're literally building a building, the second story is already diminished. It's already foundationally not as strong as it could be. We're beginning to impeach the credibility of this building because of how it's looking and feeling, because foundationally we went a little weaker. So story 1's kind of, oh, okay, we're about 95%. Story 2, oh, now we're about 80%. Story 3, oh, we're about 65% now, right? It begins to get weaker and weaker as we build upon this thing. That's why those first steps are so critical. And then what they call, what we use as what we say is step 6 is this story extension. And story extension is if there's a marketing strategy that involves multiple touch points, considering creating these additional assets that expand into the main story, which, we can say are things like, teaser videos, social media, behind the scenes footage. But there's an art and a strategy behind. We're not pulling out little clips. There are reasons that are building upon what it was that we did in the very beginning and why we're pulling out certain things. So they're reinforcing these areas. They're reinforcing the structure that we've already built. So now when we can reinforce it, you think about, a movie trailer. A movie trailer, they don't, which is funny because in the old days, going back decades ago, and sometimes you can still see these on some of these like streaming services, they'll have like a whatever year the movie is, maybe a 1960s or 70s movie, whatever it is. But what they do is like the 90-second trailer, and the 90-second trailer is just a 90-second clip of the movie. I mean, it's literally that's what it is, and sometimes they're terrible, right? You watch these trailers, and you're like, why would they have chosen that? There's like no real action. There's no real interesting thing happening. It's just, I've again, just kind of by accident, I've like clicked on, it's like this old whatever. And you're like, oh, okay. Old Western maybe. And clicked on the trailer, and it was this 90-second trailer. And it wasn't the gunfight. It wasn't the big fast horse race. It wasn't like in some of these old Westerns where maybe they had, there was like, 50 or 100 cowboys riding on the horses on the one side, and 50 or 100, Native Americans riding in theirs, and they're, getting ready to run to the mill to do one of these like epic scenes. It's just like, it's like someone like walking around the cabin, and they're going and they're cleaning their boot, and then they're going around and they're looking for maybe their gun holster, and they're strapping that on, and then they're going over and they're, getting some water in their canteen, and you're just like, why did they choose this? Like, what do they do? How does this make me want to watch it? Long story short to say, that's what happens with these teasers so often. Like, people are just like, okay, let's pull out clips from our thing so that we can have our shorts, so we can have our teasers, so we can have our whatever it is, fill in the blank. And they just are not crafting the brand and the message and the story and these different narrative arcs that are very, very intended and intentional, so that we have something that really can be used, really is useful, and draws people in. So, folks, again, I'm just going to go through these 6: that's story mapping, pre-visualization, artistic capture, narrative sculpting, detail crafting, and then story. Almost all of us are going to use story extension. So what I would say to you and suggest is, if you have a question for this kind of a stuff, please do, like, feel free to reach out, to ask me any kind of questions, to let me know what's, I'm here to help. We're here to help you. So, if this has been anything valuable, if you want to ask any questions, as I say, we can get you in touch with our partners. It's that wild world of, and again, I'm not trying to sound like I'm trying to oversell this, partners of ours, and I want to see them do well, of course, but the world of what most people do for video and what they are capable of doing are you will not find anything more night and day, I believe, right now, than this. You have someone that will write something themselves, hop in front of a camera, shoot it, call it a video or a video sales letter, put it up on a page, and send people to it. And it does not perform, and they're like, oh, why isn't this thing performing? Then they take the next step, right? It's like, oh, I know what it is. It's copywriting. I need to get a copywriter. So they spend money on a copywriter. Good for them. But the copywriter asks them maybe, however many questions they ask them, but they're a copywriter. They're not storytellers necessarily. They're not brand builders. They're not sitting and thinking of the shots, the sequence, like how all these things layer. They all attach. It's a puzzle, right? It's like a 3D puzzle. Can't just hand you, if it's 1,000-piece 3D puzzle, I can't hand you like 50 tiles and say, here, go craft an amazing, video sales letter for me. If you only have 50 of the tiles, you require all of these pieces. So if you want to learn more about this, feel free to reach out. Like I say, I'll get you in contact with our folks. We do a whole lot with them. Man, oh man, we're going through this frozen thing again, and that's a hilarious face. I love it. And this is so amazing how often this thing freezes. So anyway, friends, I love you. As always, make today mammoth. And reach out with any questions, dallas@maketodaymammoth.com, or send a direct message, and or we will see you later in our next episode. Take care, and we're going to see if we can log out of here. Have yourself an amazing day. Take care. Make today mammoth, and we're going to see if we can actually log out of here. Take care, everybody. Love you. Bye-bye.